Welcome to another episode of The Little Radio Show. My name is Sandra Fernandez, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Juan and Anjelica, and we're bringing you small talk about big topics. This week we have a great interview with food blogger extraordinaire Vianney Rodriguez of Sweet Life. We talk about our personal rules on why and how we friend, follow, and like people on social media, and we talk about this week's entertainment obsession, the Lyons family and Empire. Just a reminder that you can catch us every week on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Central Time on hmsnetradio.org. Our show archives and the link to our iTunes channel are available at thelittleradioshow.com.
I am very, very thrilled to be able to introduce our next guest. She's a longtime friend of ours and one of the, I would say, one of Texas' most influential digital influencers or digital personas in the state, really.
She's definitely the most digital when it comes to food and drinks.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm talking about Vianney Rodriguez, and Vianney Rodriguez is from sweetlifebake.com. If you have not visited that website, you should. She has the most awesome, like you said, cocktails and food recipes. But Vianney, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. Nice to be here with you. Thank you for inviting me.
No, absolutely. And so, I wanted to invite Vianney because I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your story. And this kind of came about because we've collaborated with Vianney, and she supported our launch here in Houston just a couple of weeks ago. And so, it really, just reminded us of how...
well, let's mention that we've had a long-standing relationship with Vianney. Yeah. So, I'm sorry. Proceed, Juan. I have a bad habit of interrupting Juan.
No, but we do have a long relationship. I remember I was at the Latism Awards, and I think it was in Chicago. I don't remember if it was in Chicago or Houston, but we were giving out the awards, and they said, "Hey, you're here. Can you hand this award out?" And it was to Vianney, and it was the top food blogger in the country. And I get up to the stage, and I'm like, I'm so happy to give my fellow Tejana this award, and and then there were crickets.
I was there. I remember that it was in Houston, and everybody was texting me, "Where are you at?" And
oh, that is right. You had gone MIA for a moment.
Yeah, and I showed up after, and everybody was all dressed formal, and I showed up in my jeans, and I was like, "Oh, hey, where's my award?"
But the important thing is you won the award.
Yes,
and it was in Texas, of all things, and I wasn't there, so.
And I gave you a raving welcome to the stage.
So, Vianney, tell us a little bit about your backstory.
Well, I started Sweet Life, hence the name Sweet Life Bake, to teach myself how to bake because I wasn't good at baking.
So you're not like a professional baker because that food is phenomenal. I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but please proceed.
No, that's fine. Interrupt. No, I'm not a good baker. I don't do anything really fancy. I do pretty much, eat anything anybody can do at home. Well, the trick was because I kept going to online to look for recipes, and every recipe that I found that I wanted to try was from a food blogger. Mm-hmm. Because a regular recipe from a website says do this, do this, do this. When you go to a food blogger site, it gives a background. She tells a little story and don't do this because it doesn't work. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to blog about baking and I'm going to be awesome. The first 4 or 5 posts, they were horrible.
Do you remember any of what they were?
Yeah, the very first, I posted a cookie. It was like a chewy chocolate chip oatmeal cookie or something. It was my very first post. I put it out there, and I thought, man, people are going to love this. And then it was nothing. I was
crickets.
Like, okay. I was like, okay. So I did like maybe 4 or 5 more recipes, and then I thought, you know what, this isn't going to work. I don't know what to do. I already, have the site up. I want to do something. And then I was making beans, frijoles de la olla, that for dinner. And I was serving the kids beans, and I had, we had put some queso fresco on it. And
oh my God, my mouth's watering.
And my husband's like, why don't you take a picture of that and put it on your blog? And I was like, are you crazy? Nobody wants to see beans.
Little did you know, huh?
Yeah, everywhere you go, there's beans. And he's like, just do it. You never know. So I was like, all right. So I styled a little picture, put it on there, and I got so many emails.
Really?
People were like, oh, my mom used to make those beans. My grandmother makes those. I've never known how to make them. And it's like a little bite of home.
Nice. So, would you say you owe your success to beans?
Exactly. And that's why I tell her, those, even now when I post a bean recipe, those are a few of my very most popular recipes. So Roy's like, I think my husband was like, I don't know what you're doing baking. You know you're not good at it. The more I shared of my family and their recipes and how I grew up, and people were just, they liked it. They were, drawn to it. So I thought, well, what better to show than what I know? What am I baking? We already have Joy the Baker, and I am your woman. So,
But you went and you really, kind of capitalized on that, and you've kind of built a very big following and a very big community from that initial idea. How's that journey? What's that journey been like for you?
Well, once it started with the beans, then I started meeting I started tweeting more. I dropped the bake. I went to Sweet Life, and I added the cooking, eating, living my sweet life in Texas, and people were like, oh, so, do you have this recipe? And I was like, yeah, I'll share that. So after a couple of months after that, I was sharing what people were
suggesting.
Yes. So then I started, tweeting, and I met all these Latina bloggers, and I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't know there was other Latina food bloggers. So we started connecting over social media. We connected over Facebook. So we connected on a Facebook group, and I was like, how do I do this? And how do I do this? And and it was such the community was helpful. They taught me, you need to do this, set up a recipe. And I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to do anything. And they were just like, do this.
Nice. I love your success story. I love the fact that other Latinas were willing and kind of aiding you to have a very successful blog. You've been featured on Yahoo. You've been featured in magazines. You're very humble about this, but I need to put you on the spotlight to say, Vianney, that you have become
you were writing for Parade magazine.
I know. You've become an empire. Mujer, like you've done things that people dream about, basically.
Yeah,
your
book. I've been very blessed. I've been very fortunate with the relationships I've met, and everybody's been very, very supportive.
I think that's the one thing I have to say, since we've met, and Vianney is always the type of person that when I go to Vianney and I'm like, hey Vianney, what do you think about doing this? Can I call a favor? And every time you're like, yes, absolutely. And so I'm like, man, like Vianney is just on it.
Well, here's the thing. Where I'm obsessed with you, Vianney, and I'm going to admit to this right here and now. I'm not sure if this is a good idea, but the pictures, the phenomenal pictures get me every time. There's times where you pull you'll put out there like pork. I don't eat pork, and I want pork after I see the picture. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah, but that's part of your business. I mean, like you literally take that very seriously, right? The pictures.
Yes, I take it very seriously. If you go back to the beginning of the blog, the pictures were horrible. Nobody wanted it. Maybe that's why the baking didn't take off. It's part of the blog. It didn't look appetizing. So now I take the time to style it. I take the time. I don't make it look like it's not. You don't want it too styled to where people are like, oh, well, nobody wants. I want it to look like you just sat down at the table, your mom served you food, and everybody's ready to eat. So I take the time to do that, and I find people really appreciate it. And the pictures also, they're a big draw in Pinterest, to magazines, to features, and the fact that I take all of my pictures, that's what makes me the happiest.
It is a big representation of who you are. I'm not saying the pictures, but the way you style them.
The other thing about your pictures is that they were a huge part of your book. So I do want you to tell us about your book, because I think that's I think this is your first book?
This is my first book. And I co-wrote it with a fellow food blogger that I met in that same Facebook group that we all connected almost 5 years ago. Yvette from Muy Bueno. So this is her second book, but we collaborated on this book, and it's, oh my God, I love it. I'm in love with it. I love the pictures. I love the cocktails. I love I love cocktails. So it's
and it's a Latin twist, and you can find it on Amazon, and you can find it. Where else can you find the book?
On her website.
Yeah.
At Barnes & Noble.
So tell us a little bit about what we can find in the book. What's in it, and why would you recommend it?
Okay. Latin twist is It features 19 Latin countries, so you're getting a taste of every Latin country. Their cocktails, their traditional cocktails, and a few cocktails that we modernize. And what I like about Latin Twist is it will give you a map of what country you're sipping from. It will explain to you a little bit of the alcohol featured. It will show you how to stock your bar and, bartender. And what I think was a great idea, we did not use any fancy equipment. We're not having you go out, and buy $200,000 worth of bar equipment. You don't need anything. You need a mason jar to shake. You need a muddler. Nothing fancy. Everything is easy.
Affordable.
Delicious.
Everything's easy and affordable. I like that. I like the fact that you said that how to stock your bar.
and I would say
that's something I need to know.
If you go through the entire book, you're guaranteed to have fun.
Yes. Oh, yes. I had one fan. I met her. She contacted me, I think, like 4 years ago. And she emails me every time she tries a recipe. Well, when Latin Twist came out, she was like, I'm going to buy it. She was one of the very first people to buy it. She was, sent me an email. It's gorgeous. And she came to Corpus a few months ago, and she's like, I know, I don't want to sound like I'm a stalker, but I want to meet you. And I was like, no, I'll meet you. I've been, emailing you back and forth for 4 years. So when I met her, she was adorable. She was just like, find this and tell me about this. And now every weekend she'll put a picture out and she'll say and she'll show the steps where she's making each of the cocktails. And it makes me so happy,
Nice.
That's great.
That warms my heart too, Vianney, because that is awesome. The kind of connections you make online are ever endearing and everlasting, and that's what I think we all look forward to as influencers and bloggers.
And I think you have we could continue talking with you all day, Vianney, but just to kind of wrap up this segment, I think I'm really curious. What would you say is the biggest secret to your success, or the thing that you would recommend most to others who are looking to kind of build something the way you have?
I think the biggest secret is work every day. Like, I work at my blog. If I'm going to work from creating the recipe to styling the recipe to promoting it, I'm very persistent with it. I'm also very willing to help any new blogger. I'm always willing to ask a seasoned blogger for advice, and no me creo tanto, don't, think that,
you take humility serious.
Don't take yourself too serious, because it's a blog. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to share your passion, and it's supposed to help your readers. So don't take it too seriously. Work hard, and always ask for advice, and always be willing to give advice.
That's great advice. Great advice.
I think that's a recipe for life, period.
Yes.
So tell our listeners where they can find your lovely recipes online.
Okay, you can go to sweetlifebake.com. It's the blog. Twitter, I'm at sweetlifebake. On Instagram, I'm at sweetlifebake. And you can find Latin Twist in Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
And I really want to thank you for joining us today. Personally speaking, I have tried some of your cocktails, and I'm going to say that I'm a big fan.
Ditto.
We'll be posting links to Vianney's website, social channels, and the Latin Twist book on Amazon in our show notes, and you can find that at thelittleradioshow.com later today or later this week.
And much continued success, Vianney.
Thank you for inviting me.
And if you're just tuning in, this is Sandra Fernandez, Juan and Anjelica Casares from The Little Radio Show. You can catch us at thelittleradioshow.com. The fall television season has begun, and what we're seeing is a bunch of shows have done their premieres for the new season. One of the ones that I was very much looking forward to was Empire. Yes. Now, if you've never heard of Empire, it was the Fox breakout hit last year. It was in all of the news media. Everybody watched it. It was the show that everybody loved to watch in, so that you could love to hate the characters. Yes.
Taraji P. Henson does an excellent job as Kiki Lyons on that show, and I think she really steals the show.
Well, why would you say she does a really good job? Is it that you find yourself like mimicking her, or that you find yourself saying her lines?
I think what happens is she has the reactions that everybody wishes that they could get away with. She does it, she says it, and then she just moves on.
And the other thing is that she's a really great actress. Like,
Yes.
Taraji herself has been in a lot of films, and she's just a really good actress. So
I was
lot
very
of successful
sad to
films.
see when they killed off her character on Person of Interest, because she was on like the first 2 or 2.5 seasons of that show. She was my favorite character on the show.
yeah, I remember her.
I have never watched that show, so I'm not familiar with that one.
Well, she's not on anymore. So.
So I can't watch it anyway. But yeah, in the terms of Empire, it is a few of the TV shows that we like to sit and actually, this is really bad, but Edgar's a fan of Empire himself.
He loves him some cookie. I know that.
No, and it's funny because when Empire was on, like, you would go on social media the next day, and that's all everybody was talking about.
Yes.
And there were memes and all kinds of other silly things that were happening, but it really is part of a big part of the culture.
Well, the
is.
thing to know about Empire, what it is it takes a look at Lucius Lyons and the Lyons family, and they own a recording company. This guy Lucius brought himself up from being a street thug to becoming a rapper and an artist to establishing a very popular, very successful recording
I believe
studio.
as an entrepreneur, because they, in terms of the actual show, didn't they start to they started to do other things aside from the music industry a little bit?
And I honestly, I don't remember that far back. But,
Okay.
But the music industry is their big.
Yes,
the
it's their
music
moneymaker.
industry is their moneymaker. Now, in the very first episode, Cookie, who is his ex-wife, is released from federal prison, where she has done something like 17 or 20 years of prison time for something that the two of them did together. And so she wants to come, and she's like, okay, I did my time so that you could stay out and
So you can build this.
you could build this and you could raise our kids. Where's my money? Where's my part of this empire? And it's the struggle between the two of them on who is going to control this huge thing. And let's be clear, there are no nice people on this
No,
on
there
the show.
aren't. No, there aren't. There's a scene that I remember where he's laying on the bed and she has the pillow in her hand and she's thinking, am I thinking right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And she has the pillow in her hand and she's thinking about it. And she, whatever, she moves on, and then he
She's
fires
thinking
her.
about strangling the poor guy.
That was suffocating him is what
Yes.
she was thinking about doing.
But the whole season, last season, there was a big cliffhanger at the end where, the whole season we thought that Lucius Lyons he was dying, and then at the end he wasn't dying, and so that was
Misdiagnosed.
Yeah, there was like a whole,
only in TV.
It's kind of changed everything. And so this new season, they have a great lineup of people who are doing
I know
guest
you're excited about this one.
features,
Please
and
give us some of the people that
so
they
some
have
of the
new
people
coming
they
up.
have listed, and this is just what some reports have said, is Pitbull is going to be on there, Marissa Tomei, Adam Rodriguez from Magic Mike, Ludacris, Alicia Keys, Chris Rock, Lenny Kravitz. I'm really excited about Mariah Carey. I really do want to see Mariah Carey in Empire because she's one of our last great voices. And then I think they're even saying Oprah Winfrey. So
Oprah Winfrey.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a lineup!
Well,
I'm wondering, I'm just thinking, what would her character be? Oprah Winfrey.
well, she's a very talented
She
actress.
is. Yes, she is. But I'm curious now. She, aside from these people that you've mentioned, there are the, first, she hasn't acted in quite a while. Two, they are the younger ones. Maybe she's like somebody's mom.
She was just in The Butler.
Yeah.
Oh, she was. Angelica, where are you?
She was just in The
yeah,
Butler.
she was. Yes, she was. But I'm trying to see how she fits in.
Oh,
Well, it should be
It's something
interesting.
out of that hasn't.
I'd find it fun if she played herself.
If she played herself. Oh, that would be awesome. That would be awesome.
But Empire is a soap opera. In that if you miss a week, next week you're not going to know what's going on.
It moves very quickly.
It's not universally beloved, but it's one of those shows where even if you hate it, you're still watching it.
You learn to love it.
It's a really well developed show. It's got good characters. It's got a good storyline, and so I'm hoping that season 2 will keep up with what season 1 put out there for us.
And season 2 just started yesterday, so you can go in and watch it in reruns. I'm sure if you go on to the Fox website or somewhere, they're still going to have it in replay.
So what I do want to mention is that the reason I am obsessed, the reason I am in love with the show is that the they develop the characters so well that I am invested in the characters. I am invested as to what happens to who. We said, it moves very fast, and if you miss an episode, you kind of missed a lot. For example, when I myself missed an episode, and I was like, what happened to the girlfriend? They're like, oh, she's in Europe somewhere. How is she in Europe? Completely lost.
And be prepared to hear us mention the show at least once or twice more before the season ends.
All right.
We'll be including links to the show in our show notes. Please remember to visit us at thelittlradioshow.com. And if you're just tuning in, this is The Little Radio Show from hmsnetradio.org. According to Facebook, I have more than 1,000 friends, which sort of boggles the mind. When you talk about actually going through standard ideas of friends, most of us have maybe a handful of really, truly close friends. But friends is a term that Facebook has decided to use for all of your connections that you have online through them. Twitter calls them followers. LinkedIn calls them connections. How do you decide who you friend, who you follow, who you like, who you connect with online? And by the same token, how do you decide when to unfollow, block, unfriend, unlike, and disconnect from someone?
Let's see. Here's a real question. Do you get bothered when people unfollow you? And have you unfollowed people? Have you unfriended people? Should I better say?
If a really close friend of mine unfriended me on Facebook, and suddenly I couldn't connect with her anymore, that I think would bother me. My mom was just talking to me over the weekend. Are you friends with such and such, who's a cousin of mine? I used to have her on Facebook and now I don't. Do you think she took me off? And I looked her up and it's like, no, she's not on there anymore. Or she blocked both of us because I can't find her.
Oh, wow.
So she noticed that this person was no longer, this information, this connection was no longer available on Facebook. For my close personal friends, for the people who I have actively in my life, yes, I would notice if they unfriended me. For the majority of the other people, probably not, and that has a lot to do with quantity over quality. I was at an event, it was a community information event, we were throwing a Twitter party, there were people there from different organizations. We had planned it, we had promoted it, and doing my due diligence, I went in and I followed everyone who was going to be in the party, all the panelists and etc. And there was one person I tried to follow, and it said that he had blocked me. And I'm like, okay, we've never met before. I've had no dealings with this person. He blocked me. Fine, I have a lot of people following me. It's okay. I'm gonna let it go. Cool. Ended up sitting next to him at the table during this little Twitter-thon.
The awkwardness.
Oh, and he's like, it's very nice to meet you, and I'm not going to bring it up. It's not a big deal, right? And he's all like, oh, I think we're connected online. And I smile, and I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure that we're not. And he's, no, we're connected online. I'm like, no, we're really not. And I'm trying very desperately to backpedal out of this conversation because I don't want to bring it up. And he's like, and he's being insistent, and I'm like, okay, fine. And so I tell him,
you're like,
listen,
all right, I'm going to let you know.
Fine. If you insist, here's the deal.
Actually, I tried to follow you on Twitter, and it said that you had blocked me. So I know that we're not connected online. And he was so embarrassed.
We can't be connected online. You won't let us.
And we weren't connected on Facebook. We weren't connected on LinkedIn. And he had blocked me on Twitter somehow. And he didn't remember doing it, or he didn't recall, or he was very embarrassed. To a lot of people, whether or not you're connected online actually is an extension of your offline, in-person relationship. The problem is that people will post stuff online that they're not going to bring up when you're at lunch with them.
Oh, isn't that the worst?
When you're interacting with them. So you're like, this person that I thought I knew that seemed completely rational is all of a sudden posting about these things that I don't want to hear about at all. On Facebook, my progression goes like this. I hide their posts first. If they start to get really annoying, I unfriend them.
Okay.
And if that doesn't work, I add them to the restricted access list. I don't believe I've ever had to go all the way to blocking someone on Facebook. But the restricted
I go direct to the block.
But the restricted access list is very close to blocking.
Okay.
But I think a lot of people use the restricted access list when you're like in a professional environment and you want, you have certain people you don't want to see certain things, so you're. I've
made it a point to actually limit people to my timeline. Like if you tag me, it won't show up on my timeline.
Yeah. Well, that's the same thing. So, yeah.
So I know that that's the only restriction I have.
But I know people who have strict rules. I don't connect with anyone at work. And so their boss will friend them and they're like, I'm sorry, I don't connect with anyone at work. And the boss will all of a sudden take it very personally. Or the people that they work with will take it very personally.
And isn't that just the worst? Like, if you're when your boss sends your friend request and you're like, really?
Is that really what you want to do?
In my networking, I have closed circles and open circles. LinkedIn is the one that I monitor the most closely. The one where I actually have to have met you. Or we have to have done business together, because on LinkedIn, when I connect with someone, I'm giving them access to everyone in my network and everyone in their networks. And so I've had it happen on more than one occasion where I accepted someone into my network and then they started spamming or bothering people I had a second or third connection to. And I had to become a lot more stringent on whether or not I accept LinkedIn connection request. Mm-hmm. So I always tell people, because I give these classes, is like, don't just send me the connect with a standard invitation that LinkedIn gives you. I need you to go in and tell me where we met, so I know there's a real person behind the request and that we have in fact met. If we've met, there's a better than average chance I'm going to connect with people. On Facebook, I'm a little bit more casual. Friends and family and people who are friends of friends, I might accept with as well. If we're in the same groups, or it looks like we might have the same kinds of interests, or there's a reason why we might connect. If it's someone that I like their blog, or they've been contacting me via Twitter, I'll accept the request, because I can always add them to some sort of a group that will limit their access if they become a nuisance. Twitter and Instagram and even Pinterest, those are my open networks. I will connect to anyone as long as the topic that they're talking about is of interest to me. So if I'm on a Twitter chat and people are going back and forth talking about a specific topic, I'm probably going to follow every person who's on the Twitter chat.
Okay, because they have that interest.
Because we have a similar interest. There's got to be a specific reason why I would want to follow you.
That sounds like something that I do, but I only do that with Instagram and Facebook. With Facebook, I am very much more... that's my small circle. That's the people, those are my friends, that's my family, that's the people that I'm totally okay with watching what their lives are kind of sort of are, watching it unfold. This is where I connect with people. Instagram, it's just like open season. At that point, it's like, yeah, I follow you. I love your pictures. I have no idea you can be from Tanzania. I don't know. I follow you. And sometimes that's the way the communication is on Instagram for me. But
so I think I'm pretty open across the board, other than my Facebook page. And I do follow kind of your LinkedIn model, because if I don't know you, then I don't remember who you are, then I'm much less likely to accept you, because I'm like, I don't know who you are, and I don't know why you want to friend me on LinkedIn. And then on Facebook, I think the only one on my personal profile, I'm a little bit selective, but not really, like not selective to compare to the most. I think I just like, my thing is like, hey, do I know you or do I not know you? And yeah.
Well, the number one way that people are going to get unfollowed, unfriended, or otherwise blocked on my networks is going to be to spam me with information I don't want.
Yeah, be specific, like what, like the wraps, like the tummy wraps.
I have.
The Colombian jeans.
Yes.
I was connected to someone online, and she had, because of the job that she had, and then all of a sudden she kept tagging me on these things about selling vitamins, and I'm like, first I gave her a pass the first 2 or 3 times, and then I dropped her on every network we were connected on. I'm like, sweetie, I'm sorry.
We gotta go.
Yes, you gotta go. we're going to invite all of you to post in the comments on thelittlерadioshow.com when you will unfollow, block, or otherwise completely ignore a friend request on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, or Snapchat, or any of the others. And let us know if we completely missed the mark on anything. Thank you for joining us for another episode of The Little Radio Show. We invite you to check out our iTunes channel and leave us a rating or a review. You can find the link to our iTunes channel at thelittleradioshow.com. And catch us next week. Have a great week.